Hi everyone, it's Darlene. Welcome back for another card video. Today's card is pretty quick and easy. I'm using the Happy Celebration set by Stampin' Up! And I have my Gansai Tambi watercolors, which I haven't used in a while. I'm going to pull out this light greenish blue, and then I've got a dark blue and this kind of medium yellow, and I'll have the numbers on the blog post. I'm going to be using some Ranger Distress watercolor cardstock, and I have mine cut in A2 size. I normally don't use this cardstock because it pills up, but I'm going to be using it because it's bright white and I'm not going to be doing a lot of brushing. So you can see I'm stamping on the smooth side just because I'm going to be embossing and stamping, and so it just is better and easier to do it on the smooth side. And so I'm going to sprinkle it with some white embossing powder. Now you could use clear. A lot of people use clear for this resist technique, but I just like the bright white. Now when you're using thick cardstock, the benefit is that when it warps from embossing, you can kind of work it back into place. With the thinner cardstock, it's a little harder to do. So I got this pretty much back to flat just by bending it with my hands. Okay, so now it's time for the watercolor. I'm just going to just using plain water, create a rectangle over my Happy, and I'm using plenty of water. This is going to help me just contain my color a little bit better and get it blending on its own without too much brushing. So I'm going to start with the lightest color. I always start light to dark, and I'm going to drop some yellow here and there. Make sure I get all the way to the edge in some areas so that I don't have blue on my entire edge, so I have some yellow there. Now I'm going to move to my medium color. This is just the bluish green. It's one of my favorite colors in the set, and I'm not too worried about these two colors touching because they're going to blend nicely because they're close to each other in the rainbow. So I'm just going to drop it here and there, and I'm going to be careful. It's really easy to color over yellow and have it completely disappear if you do too much blending. So I'm going to be really conscious of that and try not to touch my yellow too much. Now I noticed I didn't have enough water because my color wasn't moving around as much, so I decided to just drop a little bit of water on there to get my colors moving. And then finally my last one is this dark blue, and you can see I got so much water on my brush, but I'm moving forward because you never know what could happen, but it's got huge puddles right now. But that's okay, I'm going to drop it here and there, and again this color is going to blend really well with the yellow and the other greenish blue. And I'm just going to extend out over that Y, and this will be my last area. And these colors are really vibrant and thick, and they're almost opaque, so they're really easy to lay down. So I'm going to make sure that I have kind of a really nice edge here. And so as I'm watching it, it's pooling on the left. I'm going to, pick up my cardstock and have it drip a little bit to the right, but not too much because I'm going to cover over that yellow. So rather than let these pools dry, I'm going to pick them up with a tissue, and after I touched it a little bit, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go crazy with it because I can always add another layer of color. So I took my tissue and I went all over and picked up all the pools, and it lightened up my color, but it looked so good. I was really, really happy with the way this turned out. This never happens. This went really, really quickly. So I was excited that I was able to do a nice watercolor in just one coat. So I'm going to put some splatters on here, and you want to make sure that your watercolor is completely dry before you do the splatters, because if you don't, then they'll plume out and they won't be dots. So I'm using the darkest and the lightest, so the dark blue and then the yellow to do my splatters. You can see for the blue I had to wipe it on my craft mat a little bit because I had too much water on my brush. You want to be really careful. You also want to make sure you wipe the handle of the brush before you drop any splatters, because then you could get some water drops and then it might reactivate some of the watercolor. So you just want to make sure your brush is nice and clean. I usually forget to do that and I get big water drops. This time everything is going according to plan, which is so different from all the other cards I've made in the last couple of months. So here are my splatters. They came out pretty good. And while that is drying, I'm going to stamp my sentiment on some black cardstock, and I'm going to white emboss it so that I have just kind of some contrast between the two sentiments, the Happy and the Birthday to You. And I want my Happy to pop out a little bit. And this little detail is going to add so much to my card. I'm just going to take a Stampin' Up! Marker, and this is how slow I'm going. So this is real time on this H here. And I'm just drawing a line on the left side of each letter. Now I did it with a thinner marker the first time and I didn't like the way it came out, so I'm using a thicker one, which is my Stampin' Up! One. And so you can see I'm just going to go along the edge. And another reason why I used this happy from the set is it's kind of a scratchy pattern where it's kind of missing some pieces and stuff. So if my lines aren't perfect with the black, it's really not going to be a big deal. I thought stars would be a good element to add to this card. So I have some Hero Hues black ink, and I have a couple stars from the birthday balloon set by Simon Says Stamp. Now I'm going to add, I have two sizes, small and large. I'm going to add 3. So you want to add 1 or 3 or 5. So I'm going to add 3 on the left, 3 on the right, and then 1 on the bottom. And notice it's in a triangle. So that's another thing you want to aim for, is create a triangle with where you're placing your sequins or whatever it is. So I've cut this back 1/4 inch at the top and 1/4 inch at the bottom, and I'm adhering it to a Hero Arts note card, which is white on the inside with some ATG tape runner, just making sure I get my tape runner all the way to the edge, since this is a watercolor panel and it's a little bit warped. And then I'll just put my birthday to you with some Scotch foam tape in the lower right hand corner. And I always read, you read left to right, so you want to put your sentiment toward the right. And that is the card. So really easy. Everything went according to plan. It's an absolute miracle for me right now. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.